Is it visible now? Uh, Hey, is it visible now? I'm not getting an option over here.
Mm. No, it's still not visible. Ah, now it is. Now it is.
Okay, perfect.
Ah, no, no, no. Wait, wait. Uh, no, it's still not visible.
Okay, so can someone help me out over here? Uh,
Yes,
that
normal. You click down on the right present
yeah, yeah. I
and do
clicked
your
on
entire screen if it's not possible only for a window.
yeah,
And
so I clicked on present now and I went for tab, but
Mhm.
uh, I think it's not visible. So there's no option over there. Like present now option is not there. Okay, what shall I do?
If you cannot do like one tab only, try to do the entire screen or
Yeah,
vice.
yeah, but there's no option right now. Like the present now option, it is not clickable.
Ah,
Like
do I will send if you want. I can send you a new link. Maybe in a new link, it might be okay.
sorry.
Like we could try to use a new link.
Or we could use the same link, but this time I'll share the entire screen.
Yes, or try before starting to record the
Yeah,
screen. It might
yeah,
be for this.
yeah, yeah. So join back, okay?
Mhm, okay, okay. Great.
Στέργιο, είσαι απίστευτος.
Είδες πως το μιλάμε στο αγγλικό,
Δεν θέλω.
Γι' αυτό δεν έχουμε καλούς IR partner.
Το βάζω.
Φαν, φαν, φαν.
We cannot hear you if you are talking.
Hello, is it audible now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm clicking on present now and entire screen. Cool. And share. Is my screen audible now? Sorry, visible now?
Uh, let's wait like 1 second, but right now it's not.
Okay. Is it now? I don't know what's up.
If you have a file, if you want, if it's a PPT, send me the PPT and I can do the present if you want.
Okay. Can you tell me your email ID? I'll share the
Yes,
presentation.
yes.
SS
Excision.
SS
Tell me again.
SSM. Okay, just give me it in the chat box. Okay. Yeah, I've shared it with you.
Nice. Okay, I have it. Is it okay? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can.
Nice. So this is it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
No
Wow.
problem.
And I thought COVID-19 was the worst thing that happened to me in April. Never mind. Hello, everyone. This is Akshay. It's such a pleasure to meet you all. Sorry for all the fiasco that had happened in last 13 minutes. I was worried if this webinar would go up to an hour, but by that I didn't mean this delay. So I'm sorry for that. So without any further ado, let's start. Before starting, let me introduce myself. I'm Akshay. I have been a seeder for Nepal for IGE. After that, I was IR OGE India. Then I was sales in IGE EST, and right now I'm IR IGE EST Greece. Yeah, I love Greece very much. Uh, n- Next slide, please.
Yes.
So let's catch up on few happenings that has been going around. I hope everyone of you loves memes. One more, one more click.
Mhm.
Okay. So before going deep into technical aspects of what we are going to discuss today, let's
Tell me again.
and I know everyone else has been back the no, just back the second slide, not this one.
Second slide, this one.
Yeah, this one. So let's just have one quick round of introduction. Let's just tell me your name. And I know everyone has been talking about productive things that they have been doing in this quarantine, but I want to know what is that one fun thing that you have been doing in this quarantine. So, Christina, can you go first? Christina? Okay. Uh,
Oh,
till that,
I'm so sorry. I
okay.
didn't realize you were talking to me. I thought that
Ah, it's
someone
okay.
else was Christina.
Oh,
So
I'm so,
sorry.
it's okay.
Could you please repeat your question?
Yeah, Christina, just introduce yourself and one fun thing that you have been doing in this quarantine.
Well, one fun thing I've been doing this quarantine is that I joined the rec team, so it's a nice thing that occupies my time. I'm also reading a lot of books. It is still a bit boring, to be honest, but it's okay.
Great, great. Thank you. And who do you propose?
I propose Arietta.
Hello, everyone. Um, I mostly eat during quarantine. I hope everyone else does this as well. Also, I'm trying to study about my Spanish lessons uh, and
Nice.
university, of course. And yeah, that's all. I propose 30 years.
Thank you. Can you hear me? I don't remember if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Nice. So yeah, me too. Like most of the time, I'm eating and watching Netflix. So basically, this is what occupies my time right now in quarantine. Okay, it's fun. I'm waiting to go back drinking coffees and stuff. And like I cannot see the viewers, but I will propose. Let me 1 second to see the. I'm proposing you actually.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so my name is Akshay, and this quarantine I have been watching lots of Netflix while attending online lectures. So I put my Zoom on mute and then I go and finish the series. And after Netflix is done, I go to Hotstar, I go to Prime. It's like I'm jumping. That is my vacation that's been going on into this series. So it seems fun and I get to learn a lot. That's what my professors think, that I'm attending the classes, but I'm watching Netflix. So yeah, that is one of the fun thing that I've been doing this quarantine. And I propose anesthesia. Are you there? Okay, till the time Stavros, you can go ahead.
Hey, uh, uh,
Hi.
you proposed me, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, I'm having a lot of fun in my quarantine while eating and sleeping and not attending in the boring university lessons. But there are some interesting university lessons that I have to attend. So my favorite thing during quarantine is, I would say, the fact that I'm in the rec team. So yeah. I propose. Να propose τώρα.
I think only anesthesia is remaining.
Okay, Anastasia, take the lead. Anastasia, are you in there? No.
I guess she is not there. Okay, cool. We can move to our next slide. Stereo.
Next one.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, perfect. So I guess that most of us know what does IR mean, but it's very crucial that we understand three W's of IR before we go ahead and discuss more about technical aspects of IR. So first of all, in the simplest way, what we can do, what IR has been defined as, it's the sum of activity which makes sure that the operations between two entities is going as smoothly as possible and as efficiently as possible. Now, to ensure this operations, there are like based on various type of skills and type of partnerships that you are having with that entity, with that country, with that MC, or when you talk about downscale partnerships, when you talk about LCs. So when you're talking about this relations, it basically is based on your scale. So if your scale is higher, most of the time you go for seeders, like seedership. Seeder from one particular entity would go over there and would sell those dominant subproducts that your host entity has been having. And then next comes the type of partnership that you're going to have. So right now we're going to talk about with the operational partnerships that we are having with different countries. Then we'll be talk about why do we need this IR, and finally we're going to talk about the IR's timeline, how we should map our IR based on the timeline of OGE. At the same time, making sure that we get best experiences. At the same time, we deliver best experiences. Next slide, please.
Yes.
Okay, so one very important question is, that is the basic question, why do we need IR? So the end goal of the transition is to have completes. When you set your T versus A, you need to have your completes as close as possible to the target which was set. And when you break down this end goals, there comes a point where you come to its approvals. Now, in order to have maximum approvals, you make sure that you have good conversion ratios right from the beginning. When we talk about IR acts as a catalyst. Once we have one national partner and we have complete history of that partner, dominant subproduct which they have, timeline, their market readiness, scope of our project. When we have all these things, that applicants which we get from those partners acts as a catalyst, whereas the organic leads which we get, there is a very good chance that there will be approval breaks which will hamper the conversion ratio. And conversion ratio is one of the indices which uh, shows the efficiency of the complete cycle. Another thing is we get to have better aligned proportional materials and faster and smoother operation, none to say, and better experience and high NPS. The main thing over here is we should have complete market analysis of the partner of the country which we are supposed to have partners, and in the downscale partnership, the LC which we are supposed to have as a partner. And we'll discuss this in the next slide. Stereo, next slide. Okay, so first we always start with research. Research basically defines the conduct of the exercise that we have been practicing so far. What does this mean? First and foremost, demand and supply. Nevertheless, to say, when we talk about demand and supply, the main thing over here is your dominant subproduct. Which is the dominant subproduct of the country that you're having, and do we have projects for that particular dominant subproduct? This defines as one indices, and this indice, this whatever indices which you're having, this indices will define if that partner is our potential partner, and in the further would should we engage with that partner. Next is history review. When we talk about history review, one of the best tools for history review is DAL. So MCP always gets DAL files. At the same time, you can get DAL files from ISEC Hub, and you can go to these are basically historical data sheet, huge Excel files. You can change the sliders and you can have information about the projects and the countries that it have been partnered with. So once you do this complete analysis, by analysis I mean how many IR partners did that particular entity have. So how was the exchange? What were the numbers? I know that most of us might not be good in mathematics, but when it comes to operations, maths has its own language. So you do complete historical review of the entity that you're supposed to engage with, and then you go for crests or peaks of that particular timeline. For an example, if an entity is having a timeline in which their peak is say June, you have to make sure that you're mapping your contents, your promotional materials, and all the assets that you would be requiring for engaging with that particular partner is being ready at least 2 months before it, so that you can modify your plan, you can carry various conducts, and at the end of the day, by the time the peak comes, you both would be at 90 to 95% of your efficiency. Next comes your analysis. This analysis is T versus A of summer peak as well as of summer peaks, OF of summer peaks, as well as OFF of summer peak. So in this T versus A analysis, you have to make sure that the country, what as you would have seen in the historical review, what have their relationships with the other entities. You have to focus on numbers when it comes to T versus A. Once you have these numbers, then you have to focus on the pros and cons. Why were these exchanges, or why was this conversion ratio, whichever it is, whichever KPI that you're supposed to measure at this point, you have to find out all the possible reasons, but at the end of the day, focus on the numbers just for analysis. Then you cluster and segregate your potential partners. What do we mean by this is, suppose there's an entity which has a dominant subproduct of BA, you cluster that entity along with 2 or 3 entities, and when you go for raising a project, by the time you sign the contract, you should know that this partner of mine would be having EPs from these 3 entities. This is how you segregate various potential partners, and you cluster them and you map them with your dominant subproduct. This ensures a very smooth flow right from top to the bottom. And last in this analysis is marketing alignment. Nevertheless, to say, we are going to discuss about marketing alignment in slide number 8 more when we'll be talking about how promotional materials should be made. And finally comes the target. One of the main thing about this target is you should know how to package a product. All your search tools, all your booklets, everything of it should properly map to the to the entities with whom we are supposed to have partnership, and this is possible only after step 1 and step 2 is done correctly. So if you have proper research, then product packaging shouldn't be an issue. And finally comes communication advances. You establish communication channels, and each and every communications channel will obviously have 1 or 2 particular ethics that you have to follow. For an example, when it comes to WhatsApp, you can share all the booklets, etc. But when it comes to Gmail, you go more about search tools. So with this, you ensure that you have good market research, you have good analysis, and last but not the least, you have good target. And the next slide, we'll talk about downscale partnership. Sergio, next slide, please. Okay. So the normal timeline of GE goes something like this. We first do analysis, then we define partners, then we develop partnership, then we have promotional materials, then we track our partners, and we try to engage with the partner. So to break it down into a downscale partnership, we first start with our potential partners. As I mentioned, that you need to have clustered and segregated partners. So for an example, there is an entity, and this entity's dominant subproduct is engineering, but you don't have a project for engineering. So if you don't have a project for engineering, and if you don't think that there would be another project for engineering in coming this quarter, there is no point in having and going to step 3, which is engagement with that particular entity. Hence, you first do historical review, like you first complete historical review, and then you cluster this partner accordingly. One of the main thing in this potential partner is you should know the scope of your project. If you don't have a scope of your project by before attraction of OGE, then it would be very hard to track down all the rest of the customers flow. So make sure that you have scope of your project. By scope of your project, I mean that you should have one area, one particular area, and you should be able to say that based on the historical review of my own entity in past 3 quarters, in past 1 year, I know that this will be my potential enablers, and with this potential enablers I could have this projects, and hence I could map this projects with the entity with whom I'm going to have partnership with. When you partner up, there is a very good chance for huge entities like ISEC in India, where we have lots of LCs, and this LCs, every LC has its own dominant subproduct. So when you're dealing with huge LCs with huge number of MCs with huge number of LCs, it's better to have one downscaled partnership. So ISEC in Chennai or ISEC in Jaipur, these two entities can have map their dominant subproduct, which right now is BA, to the entity, suppose ISEC in Athens, and you can go for this downscale partnership. Now, this downscale partnership need not just to be LC to LC, it could be LC to MC. For an example, ISEC in Chennai can supply all the BA APs to ISEC in Greece as a whole, and then it could be divided further. At the same time, ISEC in Jaipur can directly have a partnership with ISEC in Athens. So in this way, you can map this partnership. So basic thing is when you're dealing with MCs with huge number of LCs, it's very good idea to have downscale partnerships. And for again this, we again go back to step one, which is historical review. So step one is very crucial in this whole process. Then you go for the performance. With this performance at the starting point of your transition, you have to ensure that whatever you are listening from them, whatever numbers you have been getting from them, whatever the conversion ratios you have been getting from them, are they being mapped properly? Once you understand that they have been mapped properly, then you can go to the checklist. The checklist would, is in the final slide. So I'll talk more about this in the final slide about the checklist. Then you check mark in each of the factors of that checklist. And once you have at least 5 or 7 yes from that side, then you go for this partnership. And last but not the least, if step one, step two is going amazingly well, then you can start engaging with your partners. Now, by this engagement, I mean, first you need to have proper communication channel, then you need to have point of contact, then you need to have smooth operation, smooth communication between both of these entities, and then you can go for engagement, which includes that suppose ISEC in Chennai believes that in the next quarter they can have at least 10, or they have signed one new MOU, and in next quarter they'll have at least 10 to 20 EPs with a very good resume in BA. So if you think based on their performance that they have been performing really good with you for past 2-3 quarters, then you can start raising projects for particularly ISEC in Chennai, which has BA as a which are hoping that they'll have EPs for BA, and you can start having, like, you can start looking for projects, you can start looking for enablers who could have, with whom we could match these EPs. So best part about this is even if you sign contract for 2 or 3 EPs, you still get to have 10 to 15 EPs from ISEC in Chennai. So you can shortlist all the series and you will have directly downscaled partnership right from LC to the enabler. Stereo, next slide, please.
Yes.
Okay. In order to do all these things, nevertheless to say, we need to have essential tools. First is DAL. DAL files are given to MCPs, and you can also have them from ISEC. This is a very crucial tool when it comes to market research. You can also have market research from EXPA, but in order to have precise market research, you could always go for DAL. And for this, you can assign 2 or 3 members who could have complete historical review of the entities with whom you are supposed to have partnership with. And with this historical review, you can follow the timeline which we just discussed. Next is EXPA. Uh, Nothing else to add to EXPA, just that whatever data you're getting from EXPA, try to have it in a graphical sense. Even EXPA has that option, and then try to map it. We also have search tools, and we also have IR analysis tool uh, for ISEC in Greece, so you can check on the data on that IR analysis spreadsheet as well. Podio, it's very important that all this data is being updated into Podio, since we are using it as one of our channel. So make sure that portfolio has been updated. uh, the best part about updating the Podio is you have information on Expa as well as you have information on Podio. This ensures that you have a smooth transition if and only if Podio has been updated regularly. Next is educational materials. You can find via educational materials like almost everywhere, and ISAC Hub and testimonials. These uh, testimonials of our enablers, of our clients, of our startups. So I have testimonials from them, I have one proper feedback from them. And based on this feedback, you can map this feedback with the historical review and have a very good partnership with MCs. Next slide, please. Okay. Before we move further, if anyone has any queries till now, you can ask me. Okay, cool. Then we'll go move forward to promotional materials. Now, promotional materials have been divided like the way I look at promotional materials is first you need to assess the situation because creating a promotional material, creating a booklet, creating a search rule just on our analysis would be beneficial but to a limited scale. So you need to first assess the complete situation. Since the COVID-19 outbreak, I know that everything has been at halt. So this is a perfect opportunity for all of us to assess the situation. Now, what do I mean by assessing the situation? First, have one evaluate this in three parts. First is how. How are MCs working? How are LCs working? How are the EPs are being raised? How many organic leads do these entities have? What is the ratio of organic leads to the leads that they're getting from different seminars? How many MOUs they have they signed? Now I know most of this data they won't be able to share, so that's when DAL comes to our use. And if not, if you have very good connection, try to assess situation in that particular entity. How is it going? Next, is it working? Whatever assessment you have been doing, the result that you have been getting, is it working? Is it being mapped with your timeline? And then how can this be improved? So talking in terms of numbers, you assess how many MOUs have they signed or how many EPs are they expecting. Then you sign that if this matches with your T versus A, which we go as is it working and how could it be improved. So assess its complete situation with technical aspects as well as non-technical aspects. Like for most of the MCs, they might be having some issues that they're facing because of which their GE operations are at being halt. So this non-technical aspect, technical aspect, assess all of them and then create one checkpoint, like different touch points, and based on those touch points start creating the promotional material and align this with your marketing team. Then start creating the promotional materials. uh, Align them with attraction because during preparation itself most of the OGs will tell you, OG entities will let you know like what all are the preparations going on and which all EPs of different sub products are they getting. Of course when they pitch products of the national partners that they have. So if you assess the situation prior to it, then you can create booklet and you can create posters and all the promotional materials. So when an OGE team starts starts raising their EPs, when an OGE team has different EPs, so this OGE team will will share your booklets first only and only if your booklets are ready by that time. So before the attraction, you try to make sure that your booklets are ready. That is during the preparations, and then during attraction, they can start using your booklets for their seminars. And once they have got like uh, contact with the EPs, then they can start boosting our product, they can start boosting our entity, and we can get very good number of matches. But again, during this, you have to make sure that you have proper expectation settings with OGE, because having hundreds of applicants only to get rejected by startups doesn't make sense, and at the same time, it will hamper our partnership. So make sure that you have proper expectation settings. What kind of CVs are you expecting? And try to get EPs who would match the same series so that we have good number of we have very good ratio. Next is have a specific job role. You should have a specific job role right from LCP. What does my role mean in GE? Then you go for TL. What does my role mean in IR? Then two members. What does my role mean in IR? Like what am I supposed to do? And then the managers that you'll be having, one person that will be having will be in constant touch with that particular entity. With that entity could be LC or an expansion, or even a business development if they're having one or two EPs as well. This will ensure that you have faster and effective A communication and B operations. And try to map your promotional materials to bias persona. You can get this bias persona in historical review, and you can also get this bias persona when you're studying, when you're assessing the situation, when you're studying the non-technical aspects. That time you can create bias persona. Most of the entities will have their bias persona, of course, and then you can map our promotional materials with their bias persona. Now for this promotional materials, as Red informed me, so I'm making one task force. So I'll like I'm expecting support of like 2-3 members. So if any one of you wishes, or any of your TL or member wishes to help me out for creating promotional materials, so PM me, or you can talk to Ray and she can get you in touch with me. Cool. Stay there. Next slide.
Mm-hmm.
Few mistakes that we need to avoid when you're talking about IRs. First is tracking. I know like we love our spreadsheets very much, and we spend so much amount of time creating proper spreadsheet, and then various different tools, aligning all of them, adding all these formulas, etc., etc. I know that we do all of these things, and we invest a good amount of time, but it is of no use if we don't use it. So make sure that every single EP, every single update that you have is being put into your tracking tools. Tracking tools could be spreadsheets, so you make sure that everything is put into the spreadsheet. The best part about this is, even if this doesn't work out in one quarter, you can always analyze the spreadsheet for your next quarter. And this next quarter helps when you're looking for existing partners, existing partnership that you have currently right now. For an example, you have we have Germany as a partner. Now when I talked with Melissa, so she told me that they have stopped their operations, like they're taking new sign-ups, but they have stopped their operations till June. So this gives a proper scenario of what's going on out there, so that by the time it comes to the September, we'll have opportunities, and we'll already have realization, we'll map them, we'll match them during August itself. So tracking ensures that we get to assess the situation properly. Next is defining accountabilities and governing the process. We cannot just go out blabbing a mouse and not holding ourselves accountable. So when we talk about proper specific roles, right from LCVP to member, we ensure that we are giving each one of them key responsibility, and we are holding them accountable, and we are holding ourselves accountable that that one particular conduct, that one particular index, that one particular job that we are having. So it never works when we talk about he or she would be uh, he or she would be our best asset, or that particular entity would be our best case scenario. It's always a huge mistake if you don't have accountabilities for that particular entity. So make sure that you have specific rules so that you govern the process smoothly. And last but not the least, have one proper co-delivery. You can have AP who could come over here, who could come to Greece with lots of tourist expectations, only to realize that he or she has to work for 8 to 10 hours per day, and because of which it has been completely hampered. Or you could have EP who is right at the airport having no clue what's going on, or what has he or she signed up for. So for this, make sure that you are having proper expectation settings, and thus with this expectation setting results out your delivery. So have proper co-delivery. Stereo, next slide, please.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in the first slide, I mentioned about checklists that we need to have. So These are the few checklists that everyone should have while having partnerships. First, market analysis of entities. We have already talked about ways in which we can have market analysis, all the tools that we need to have, and all the indices that we should be looking for, all the numbers that we should be focusing on, all the ratios, etc., etc. So, market analysis, key one. Key two, operational timeline based on customer flow. We discussed this like a minute ago that during preparation, you should have one proper uh, outlay of the promotional material you're going to supply to your partners when they are doing attraction. So your operational timeline should always be based on your customer flow. Next is per sub product defined timeline picks. So for an example, as I said, for a country like India where we have lots of LCs, it's best if we downscale our partnership and we have promotional material for that particular entity. And the best part about this is best way to make sure that we doing this is by having making promotional materials per sub product. So you can have one promotional material for BA, you can have one promotional material for engineering, you can have one promotional material for sales, and after mapping with all these promotional materials, you can send it to your downscale partnership. You can send it to India as a whole MC, or you can send it to Asik in Chennai whose dominant sub product is PA. Then attraction campaign focusing on IR partners. So whichever our partners are, whenever we are trying to have some different campaigns, try to map these campaigns with the IR partners which we are having. So by this will it will ensure that we don't have organic leads, a, as we talked about, and that organic leads most of the time may lead to approval breaks. So try to map it with IR partners. And last but not the least, set checkpoints with the IR partners that you're having. Meeting once a month, this timeline can be reduced to meeting once in a 10 days, meeting once in a 20 days. But this meeting should be conducted after setting checkpoints. Now, these checkpoints include various expectation settings. What was the number that we discussed on? How are the partnership going on between us? Like, if you're talking about engagement, so once we in the third slide we discussed about engagement. So if we are expecting 10 to 15 EPs for PA, we have to set the checkpoints on based on our numbers, based on our technical aspects, and based on non-technical aspects, and make sure that all these points are discussed every 10 days, every 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, or 30 days. Now for this, the best person could be the person who is in point in charge, and then other person can go for meeting once in a 15 days, directly talking with LCVP to LCVP or MCVP to LCVP. So based on the downscale partnership which you're having, you could always have one person who is in constant touch, and B, who could deduce these meetings once in 15 days or once in a month. So that was it for this webinar. One thing that I think that I didn't include much was existing partners. So I have been doing analysis of our existing partners. I have been in touch with them. So Ray would inform you more about our existing partners and how we would go ahead. So Ray, I talked to Ray and she will be discussing more about this. Uh, if you have any questions, if you have any queries, or if you have anything else to add up, please let me know. Okay, if you have any questions or queries or feedback, you can talk to me now. Okay, cool. Stay your next slide, please.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for today's meet. Again, I apologize sincerely for the mishap that had occurred at the start of the meet. I didn't expect it. I'm sorry. Thank you so much, Sergio, for helping me out with this. Uh, Thank you everyone for attending this webinar. I hope it was helpful to you. If you have any questions, if you have any queries, get back to me. Also, as I mentioned about the task force regarding promotional materials, please, if you or any of your TL or member wants to join, please get them in touch with me. You can talk to Ray and she could get back to me. There is one feedback form. Please mention this feedback, fill this feedback form and drop your feedbacks and suggestions. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Stay safe.
You too. Bye bye. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you so much.